Colored pens up. Last time we were together, we took a moderate-sized leap and introduced the idea of an equation that has the variables show up on both sides. Let's see how we did with that idea. Number one, what did you get? I got a lot of confident people today. Wow, excellent. We got Michaela, Stephanie, and then Edgar. Okay.
No solution.
The correct answer is no solution. So I know 3 people got it right. We'll see in a moment if everybody else got it right as well. Number 2, a little bit challenging because of one detail. Let's see how we did. Got Chris, Valerie, and then Davis.
I got x equals negative 17.
Okay, what'd you get, Valerie?
X equals
You guys agree.
X equals negative 17.
The correct answer is x equals negative 17, and I must say that I am pretty impressed. Is that what you got? Very good. So you were right. Very good. So let's start with number 1. Give me a thumbs up if you got it correct. Put your thumbs down. That was almost everybody. Excellent. So let's focus on number 2. Give me a thumbs up if you got it correct. Good. Put your thumbs down. Daniela, what was tricky about number 2 in your mind? Or was it tricky? Okay, good. That's a good, solid answer. Extol?
That sign means the opposite of
What sign?
the negative sign before the parentheses.
Yeah, this right here seems like a wacky little thing. And so, Extol, that was a great question. Does that mean the opposite of? Well, a negative sign always means the opposite of, but saying the opposite of the quantity 11 minus 2x doesn't really help us solve the equation. So now we have to think in terms of simplifying things. So let me get rid of everything else for a moment so we can focus. Let me get rid of all this, and let's just focus on this. What does it look like? What does it look like an example of? There should be something going on in your brain. Nathaniel? It looks like a distributive property. Now, the part that I highlighted, what's usually there for a distributive property, Kadir?
A number?
Good. But isn't there a number there?
Yes.
Yeah, there's a ghost. What is the ghost that's sitting there? What's the ghost, Davis?
No, a 1.
Oh,
Negative 1.
it's a negative. Very good. I like the way you corrected yourself. So in actuality, this is a negative 1 being distributed here and here. And when you do that, you get negative 11 plus 2x. Now, when you put the rest back, it shouldn't seem so terrible. Because now we have a distributive property on the right. You guys can do this one probably mentally. 5x plus 40. And now we just solve the equation. Any questions on how we got from here to here? Danielle, did you find your mistake already? Was that it? That one part? Good. Thank you for sharing. Any questions or comments on either of these? No comments, questions? Good. Put the warm up to the side. Today's lesson, solving proportions. We're going to explore how to set up proportions and how to solve them. The majority of our time will be spent learning how to solve some complicated types of proportions. I'm going to leave the part where you know when to use a proportion largely up to you for today. And then we're going to explore it more and more over the next couple of weeks. So what is a proportion? A proportion is an equality of two ratios. So of course you have to know what a ratio is. It looks like a fraction, but it's a comparison of two values. And so we're talking about an equality of two ratios. Here's what they look like. These are all proportions. The one on the left is just a true statement. It's a proportion. 10 over 30 equals 1/3. That is a true statement. I could prove it a whole bunch of different ways. One way I could prove it is by converting it to a decimal. 10 divided by 30 is 0.3 repeating. 1 divided by 3 is 0.3 repeating. So clearly, these have the same value. There's other ways to prove it that you're going to actually learn today. The one in the middle is the type of proportion that we're going to be exploring mostly today. It's a proportion with one piece missing. Once we know that there's a proportional relationship, we can find a missing piece. This last example is the future. This is something you're going to start exploring 2 lessons from now, when there's all variables. Okay? Any questions so far? Good. Now, to determine if 2 ratios form a proportion, you compare their cross products. It's a term you should have heard in the past, but if you don't recall or you never learned it, I'm going to explain how to find a cross product. And I'm going to use one of the proportions from above as my model. So I want to prove that this is a proportion. I already proved it to you by converting both of those to decimal. The other way to prove it is by using cross products. And what it means is you multiply the diagonals. We're going to multiply this upper left number times the bottom right number. Whatever we get as a result, I'm going to write underneath right here. 10 times 3 is 30. That's one cross product. Now we need to find the other cross product, and that's the other diagonal. 1 times 30, and we're going to write its value right here. That is also 30. If both cross products are equal, then this is a proportion. So we just proved this is a proportional relationship again. But now we're going to learn how to use this idea of cross products to help us find missing pieces. And that's our biggest goal for today. To solve a proportion, number 1, find the cross products. After you find the cross product, you're going to end up with an equation, which means step 2 is solve the equation. So with this example, all 4 spots in the proportion are numbers, so we ended up with a number equals a number. But what happens if we have missing pieces? Excuse me. So, cross products when there's a missing piece. We do them the same way. 5 times 24, and whatever the result is, we're going to write it right there. 5 times 24, we don't need to use a calculator for that, because we can do 5 times 20 and then 5 times 4. So someone raise their hand with that mental math and tell me what you get. John?
220.
Close. Valerie? 120. So that's 120. Now the other cross product, x times 8. What do we get when we multiply those two together? Matthew?
8x.
Very good. 8x equals 120. Now we have an equation, and then we can solve it. We're not going to solve that one right now. I'm just demonstrating how to do step 1. So that's a simple example, but what if we have a more complex situation like we have here? Same thing, cross product. 5x times 6, whatever we get as a result, we write underneath. I'm going to write it out. 5x times 6 What does 5x times 6 come out to? Dalton?
30x.
30x. So that's really a 30x. Now we need the other cross product, and here's where things are a little bit more complex. We need to think more carefully. X minus 2 times 10. How do I write that out? How do I write that out, Daniela? You could not have said it any better than what she just said. 10 times the quantity of x minus 2. What is that an example of? What is that an example of, Feng? Distributive property. And so we can then simplify this, and then we can solve the equation. We're not going to solve it right now, but that's the first step. Any questions? Good. So that's the basics. Now we're going to get into the full formal examples. Last class, I started with you using a technique called most challenging first. I'm going to do that again today. We're going to start with the most challenging question and work our way to less challenging questions. So we have a proportion because I have a ratio equals a ratio. I need to solve it. So we're going to find the cross products. Upper left times the bottom right. Daniela just helped us with this, and you're going to see this a lot today. We're going to write 14 times the quantity p plus 15. And then we're going to do the other cross product, and we're going to have another case of distributive property. This time it's going to be 42 times the quantity p minus 5, and then we put our equal sign in. Does anyone have any questions on how we got to this? This should now look very familiar to you. We did this last time. And that's why I keep referring to the posters in the back of my room and how this is a sequence of building upon what we've done in the past. Building upon what we've done in the past. So now what do you think the next step will be? Edgar?
Distribute.
Good. But overall, before you can solve an equation, you have to simplify everything. So we need to simplify the left, simplify the right. And Edgar was correct. Distribute, distribute. If you're really advanced, you could do both sides at the same time. Just be careful. So 42 times p is 42p. 42 times 5, 210. So it's minus 210 equals 14p. Then 14 times 15, 210. And now we are left with an equation just like we saw last time we had class. Does anyone have any questions on how we got from here to here and then from here to here? Nothing on the left can be simplified. Nothing on the right can be simplified. We are now ready to solve. We draw our T for organizational purposes. Where should I start? Where should I start solving? Stephanie?
14p.
Very good. That's the smaller coefficient. And what am I going to do? What step am I what transformation am I going to do to get rid of it? Go ahead, Stephanie. You're on a roll.
Subtract both sides.
By
42. Oh, by 42.
subtract 14p from both sides. Draw my little elementary school squiggle line. Add down. That cancels out. 42p minus 14p. John?
28p.
Very good. 28p minus 210 equals 210. How many steps do I have left? How many steps do I have left? Matthew? 2. What do you think is next, Alexandra?
You're at 210 side.
Very good. Add 210 to both sides. This cancels, and I've got 28p equals 420. And now it's just 28 times what number equals 420? What do we get for the value of p? What do we get? 3 people were able to figure it out? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people. What'd you get, Valerie? 15. Now, it's easy to check proportions to see if you got it right. Put the 15 back here and here. And then check and see if they become equivalent fractions. 15 plus 15 is 30 over 42. And then 15 minus 5 is 10 over 14. Are those equal to each other? Yeah, what would I do to this one to get that one? Michaela?
Add it. Or
Well, I'm really looking for a factor, so I'm looking for what number would I multiply by?
2.
Times 2?
Wait, no. 3.
Yeah, I would multiply times 3, and then I would get the other one. So it's easy to determine whether or not you got the correct answer. Okay? Do you see why it's multiplication?
Yeah.
Good. Okay, comments or questions on part A? Okay, part B. We need to solve the proportion. What's the first step? First step, Sebastian. Cross products. Multiply. Going back to what Daniela had said. Again, said perfectly. It's going to be this times the quantity of this. 10 times the quantity, 32 minus y. And then the other cross product, what will we get with the other cross product? Nathaniel?
Y6.
Okay, and how do we say that in my class?
Y times 20.
Now, you're making it harder than it is. It's going to be a little kick yourself moment. Kadir? 6y. 6y. Okay? You didn't do anything wrong. That's how we say it in this class. Okay? Now, before we solve, we simplify. So, we've got distribute. 6y equals 320 minus 10y. Everything has been simplified. Now I'm ready to solve. Draw your T. Where should I start? Where should I start? 6 people know where to start. Same 6 or 7 people. Few other people. Extol?
Add 10y each side.
Good. So what he was going to say ahead of that was, you're going to start right here and do the inverse of it, which is add 10y to both sides. That was great. This will disappear. We get 16y equals 320. How many steps do we have left? How many steps? Janae?
2.
Oh, I tricked you. Yeah, there's 1 step left. It's 1 step. So, what does y equal? What does y equal? John? 20. Very good. And again, we can easily check and see if we got it right. Plug it in right here. 32 minus 20 is 12 over 20. and then see if you have a proportion. And we clearly do. So that is the correct answer. Does anyone have any questions on how we solve these two complicated proportions? Comments or questions? All right, let's see how you do on your own. Checkpoint number 1. You got one question. You got 3 minutes. Check. You don't have to write it, you can do it mentally. Check and see what's right. All right, colored pens, and let's see how he did. I got a bunch of people in the room who got the answer, and they know they're right. They know they're right because they checked and they did what I had asked. So we'll start with Danielle, then Sebastian, and then X-Dole. What'd you get?
Z equals 2. Z equals greater than 95.
Okay, so we have a disagreement. But X-Dole is going to now check and see if you got it right. What do you think, Michaela?
Z equals 2.
The correct answer is Z equals 2. And X-Dole, what you should do, because there's nothing wrong with making a mistake. I don't care about that. But you can put the negative 95 right here, and then see if you get an equivalent fraction. And I can prove to you that you won't. Okay? So that means you made a mistake somewhere, and then you got to go back. So let's see how we're doing. Give me a thumbs up if you got it correct. Okay, put your thumbs down. Give me a thumbs up if the first thing you did was the cross product. Good. Put your thumbs down. So what I saw from all of my classes the biggest issue seemed to be what this meant. 2z times 54. What does 2z times 54 come out to? Matthew? Yeah, that's it. It's 108z. Not sure why that seemed to trip up some of my students. And then the other side was 24 times the quantity z plus 7. And that comes out to 24z plus 168. Subtract 24z from both sides. This disappears. You get 168 equals what? Edgar?
84Z.
84z. You don't even have to do the last step. 84 times 2 is 168. Okay? So z equals g. Comments or questions? Okay? Anyone want to share where their mistake was to help the rest of us? Extol?
I didn't multiply 54 times 2z.
What did you do? Just
I just divided each side for 2z.
okay. So you ended up with a 54 over there? Okay. Okay. Janae? Okay, so somehow just a 25 kind of slipped in there and that's where you got messed up? Okay, that's an innocent mistake. Ziomara?
I got confused and I did it a different way, but still got the same answer.
What was your different way?
I subtracted 168 from 180.
Okay. You can't subtract this and this. They're not like terms. Okay, I'll come look and see. It's possible you just got lucky. Dalton?
I didn't do 2z times 54. I did the quantity, and it probably would have been a lot faster than this one.
Okay. You got the right answer? Okay, but yeah, it would probably be a little faster. Okay, so now you're going to see the power of doing the hard question first. Because watch this. Example 2. I do not want you to start the question. You copied it down, that's fine. I want you to look at it. Give me a thumbs up if you already know what the answer is. Some of you who don't already know are going to be surprised how many people already know the answer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. What do you think the answer is, Davis?
4.
Yeah, the answer is 4. How did he do that? He didn't have to do anything and he figured it out? He's a genius! Actually, it's quite simple, Kadir, right? Yeah, what do you do?
You just see which number it takes to get 7 to 28.
Yeah,
And
you can do it one of two ways. What number do we multiply by 7 to get 28? It's times 4, which means you have to multiply times 4 up here. What number times 4 is 16? Or you could do it the other direction and say 28 divided by what number gets you 7, and then divide by that number up top. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, then do the cross product. You do the cross product and you get 28y equals 112. Divide both sides by 28 and you still get the same answer. But I think just recognizing a pattern is quite a bit easier. Any questions on part A? All right, so part B, just to make sure we're understanding, solve 20 over b equals 70 over 28. Once again, we could do cross products. We could find a factor that we're multiplying or dividing by, but there's another approach. I would like you to look at this. Is that in simplest form? What is the common factor between the top and the bottom? Think hard and think about it. What's a common factor between the top and the bottom? Chris?
7.
Good. There's another one. There's a bigger common factor. 7's a good one, but there's a bigger one. What is it, Ziamara? 28? 28 is not a factor of 70, but you're in the ballpark. Matthew? 3.5, but we're looking for whole numbers. Whole number factors. Kadir? 14. So, divide the top and the bottom by 14. Watch how easy this becomes. Divide by 14, that's a 2. Divide by 14, that's a 5. And oh my goodness, boy, that doesn't look too hard anymore. 20 divided by 4 is 5. What number divided by 4 will give me 2? B equals 8. In case you missed it, Michaela said it 3 times. B equals 8. If all else fails, cross product and solve. But you are an advanced class, you should have no problem doing it mentally or with a little creativity. Any questions on A or B? Matthew?
For homework, can we do that?
Yep. But if I see your entire page of work is just a list of answers, you know that that's not acceptable. And if you notice, this is not a list of answers. This required a little bit of work. And I don't know too many people who could do this mentally, although with a little creativity, you might be able to find it, solve it mentally. But we're trying to learn a process as well. All right, so let's see how we're doing. Checkpoint number 2. You got 2 questions. You got 3 minutes. colored pens. Part A, what'd you get? Lots and lots of confident people. Stephanie, Fung, and then Sebastian in the back.
45.
The correct answer is 45. Part B, what did you get? Start with Xiomara, Edgar, and then Alexandra.
0.5.
Okay,
1/2.
okay,
45.
okay. All three same answer except said differently as 0.5. Very good. No, part A you should have done mentally, or at least I would expect you to. So 5 times 3 is 15. 15 times 3 will be 45. Part B you could do mentally, but you'd have to be really strong with math. Or you could use cross products, or you could put this in simplest form. A lot of different things you could do. Yes? Okay. Okay. Not a big deal. Okay? So, now, putting it all together, everyone write example 3, everyone write part A, but do not copy the question, just read the text of the question. Do not copy it. Read the question to yourself. Lots of different types of questions in our world, in my classroom, in science, in all different areas can be solved using proportions. So you have to learn, and it's going to take some time and experience, you have to learn how to tell if a situation is proportional and how that can help you solve the problem. I'm kind of giving it away. I'm telling you already that this is a proportional relationship. So we're going to set up a proportion. I said you didn't have to copy this, but you do need to set up a proportion. For it to be a proportion, we need 2 ratios. Forget about the second one. I just want 1 ratio. Can someone help us, or several people help us, pick out some information and form a ratio with it? Nathaniel?
3/40.
Well, 3 cups of food for every 40 pounds of body weight, and since it's all within one sentence, and it's all talking about one dog, that does lead you to believe that that would make a good ratio. And so if we have 3 cups, and we want to put cups for every 40 pounds, and we want to put LBS for pounds, that's actually important when doing real-world scenarios. Now we've established some information, and that helps us with the next part. There's one more piece of information we need, because one of the pieces of information is going to be a variable. So we're going to put an X somewhere. We need another number. What number is missing? What number is missing, Danielle?
98.
Good. So 98, but now here's the question. We have 2 positions. Where does it go? Yeah, it must go here, because we've now established that pounds was on the bottom. So 98 pounds goes here. That's the missing number. Not easy to do mentally, so let's rely on cross products. Multiply, multiply. We have 40x equals, don't do 3 times 98, do 3 times 100, and then subtract 6. So what's 3 times 98 equal to? Dalton?
294.
294. So 40 times what number will give us 294? Well, not really a very friendly number. So what does it come out to when you use your fancy calculator machine thingy? Michaela?
7.35.
So you get x equals 7.35. Now answer the question. How much food should the dog be eating?
About 7.
How much food should the dog be eating? What do you think, Stephanie?
7.
What were you going to say?
7.2 cups.
7.3. Alexandra? You're going to say 8? Okay, what do you think?
735.
Okay, well, now I want you to imagine that I've got this big container of dog food with a measuring cup, and I'm going to scoop. What does it say on my measuring cup that will help me determine how much food to give him? What's it going to say on my imaginary measuring cup? John? Does it say that on the measuring cups?
No.
No measuring cups that I know of. Caleb?
Like,
Okay, I'll never mind. That's fine with me. Dalton?
it would say 7 half or 7.
Okay, is there another fraction that might be on there that would be helpful? Alexandra? Yeah, this is close to a third. 0.35 and a third are really close to each other. So I would say I'm going to give the dog 7 1/3 cups. 7 cups might be good enough. 8 cups might be a little too much, but approximately 7. Okay? Questions, comments? Yes?
So that's the answer.
Well, you have to answer the question. So you could say approximately 7 cups. You could say 7 1/3 cups. You could say 7.35 cups. I would accept any of these answers. All right, I have another example, but I don't think we need to do it, and I have a checkpoint, and I don't think we need to do it. So let's go to our classwork. Classwork, you're going to do page 26. You're going to do numbers 23, 22, 19, 18, 17, 16, 11, and 10.
After school today, once again, all boys soccer players should report to the field outside after school. The Girls Get IT Club meets today and every Wednesday from 4:30 to 5:30 in room 223. It is now time for the bus lineup. Bus 1026, 1039, 1211, 1210, 2030, 1446, 2044, 2038, 2006, 1445, and 2111. The following students, please report to the front office. Nobly
Colored
Marme,
pens.
Valerie Redden,
While they're wrapping up the announcements, here are the answers.
and Paloma Quadri. Please report to the front office. That's all for the afternoon announcements. Please get your classes ready for dismissal and have a wonderful afternoon.
So, 23 was 127.5 feet. Number 22, part A was 6 and part B was 12. Number 19 was 209 feet. Number 18, N is 5. Number 17, A is 3. Number 16, C is 12.375. Number 11 was W equals 3. And number 10, W equals 5. Fung? So what was your answer? That's fine.
Number 16, I estimated, I got 12.38.
That's fine. Comments? Any other comments or questions? Okay. Yes, Alexandra. Hold on one second. Hold on. Excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate it, but hold on. Go ahead. For number 22. Okay. Okay, well, here, I'm going to talk about parts, but the concept of part. Let me wrap up the lesson and then I'm going to talk about it, okay? So, draw a line across your paper. Your homework is page 175, numbers 8 through 30 even, then number 34 to 40 even, and then on page 177 you're going to do the ready to go on 1 through 9. That's 25 questions. You're going to read the next section, and you will have a quiz that you must prepare for on Friday. And that will be 3.1 to 3.3.